وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم صراط الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ألا إلى الله تصير الأمور.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. I'm Yusuf Estes, and it's time for us to take a break. Take a break from our everyday mundane life and really look and think, study, consider, contemplate, reflect on what it's all about. And today in particular, on Take a Break, I wanted to talk about an ayah, a verse from the Quran. You'll find this in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse 107. What it says here, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And this is often translated as, Allah has not sent you, Muhammad, except as a mercy for all of the creation, or all of the worlds. I wanted to talk about that because actually this is something that's very often in discussion these days, because we talk about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him. We talk about him because so many things have come up. We find people drawing cartoons, making fun of him, saying things, evil things about him. And yet here we find in the Quran an amazing statement. The creator and sustainer of the entire universe is telling us that he has sent Muhammad as what? He said nothing less than the mercy for the worlds. That's what it says. Rahmat al-Alameen. Yet look at what the people say and what they're doing. What are some of the proofs about Muhammad? I want to think about that for a minute. What have people said about him? Let's ask. What have the non-Muslim famous scholars, poets, and chroniclers said about Muhammad throughout history? And then let us consider, what have some of those people who knew him, what did they say? Even his enemies at his time, what did they say about him? And then what about his companions? What did they say? His wife, what did she say? And then, what did he say? Why did Allah say that He sent him as the rahmah to the alameen? Makes you think, doesn't it? One of the things I want to share with you something is from George Bernard Shaw. When he talks about Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the best way. He discusses Muhammad as though it was his best friend and talks about him in the best way and says that this is really someone who today could make a big difference in the way we lead our lives. Could solve a lot of problems. And Gandhi, you've heard of Gandhi, right? And look what he said. Would you like to know that he said that if he were alive today, he could solve all the problems of the world? And then when we look to some of the other famous people throughout history, the comments that they've made about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, this is amazing when we contrast it to some of the things that are being said today. There's an old expression that says, consider the source. Consider the source. Who said it? Now here we have Allah saying that He sent Muhammad as a mercy to the mankind and all that exists, to the worlds. We have the saying of Muhammad himself, that he came to do what? He didn't say that he came to conquer the world, to take over the economic situation, but rather to do what? To change only one thing, the hearts. To change the hearts. The people who were the enemies to Muhammad, peace be upon him, when they spoke about him, they really didn't like the message that he brought because it would mean they had to give up false worship of their gods. The same that we find today. People who worship money, people who worship this material existence, this called hayat ad-dunya in Arabic, they worship that. But when you stop and think, even the enemies of Muhammad at his time, they were truthful. They were truthful to this extent that they would not say things that they knew were a lie against him. For instance, one time when some of the enemies to Islam, they were called mushrikeen, idolaters, statue worshippers, they were trading and doing business in another land, in the Byzantine Empire actually, and there was a message that was sent out by Muhammad, peace be upon him, and when the emperor found this message, it was in Arabic, and he doesn't know Arabic. He said, find some of the Arabic traders and bring them to me, and let's get them to tell us what the message says. And they asked one of them to sit up front, and then the others behind, with the instruction that if he lies, that they should let him know. And then he asked about Muhammad. He wants to know, who is Muhammad, peace be upon him? And did he ever claim to be, like he's a king, he wants to be the king? No. And did he ever say this or that? Or no. He didn't do that. In fact, the one who did this, he said, I tried to think of something bad to say, and the only thing I could say is, well, we have a truce with him right now, but we're not sure he's going to honor the truce. Well, that was the only bad thing he could say, and that wasn't really that bad, was it? Because even the enemies in those days used to have some kind of, morals to the extent that they would tell the truth. Today, I don't know where some people are coming from with the things they say, but a lot of the things that we hear being said about Muhammad are not only lies, they're preposterous lies. Things that just the slightest little bit of time that you would spend, a little bit of time to investigate, to search and research, you'll find that these things are preposterous. Let me give you an example of one. There's one today who claims that Muslims have been taught by Muhammad to worship the moon. No, Muslims will say, what? Are you crazy? Oh, this is clear in the Quran. Allah tells us about worship is only for Him. And in fact, the moon, the sun, and all the other things are a part of the creation of Allah. And nobody can worship them. Allah said this in the Quran. Even when they ask a question to Muhammad about the new moons, they want to know about the moons. There used to be superstitions about that. People used to worship the moon and things about it. And it's in chapter 2 of the Quran, Surah Baqarah. And the verse is 189. It says, Yas'alunaka. It means they're asking you about what? The hilal, the new moon. And Allah tells them about the new moon right here. And He says, it is only so you can judge the beginning of the months to make your pilgrimage or your Hajj. Now, how could somebody read this and then come up with such a preposterous story? And then propagate it and spread it around the earth and actually have some Muslims saying, hey, do we worship the moon? Of course, this is ignorance. Some have even said that there was a moon god inside of the Kaaba in Mecca. Another preposterous lie, because we have pictures of the inside of the Kaaba. There's nothing in there. Some people will stop at nothing these days to try to sell books or be number one in telling a story, going on the news, being on these talk shows. But in fact, what we want to know is Muhammad really the Rahmatullah Alameen? And that's why we're taking this break right now, because we want to find out. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to be right back with you. And we're going to continue on, take a break, talking about Muhammad the Rahmatullah Alameen.